Ocho, Nicki Minaj, and other artists have seemingly called out Jay-Z, who's the co-producer of the Super Bowl halftime show.
And even though he wasn't named, but Jay-Z's decision to have Kendrick Lamar headline the Super Bowl.
Nicki Minaj has accused Beyonce and Jay-Z of stealing millions of dollars, ruining her career, and planning a campaign to permanently stifle her voice. And the lyrics aren't ambiguous or a cryptic jab. This history of names generated from Chart Earth confirms the anger of a woman who declares she's had enough. Nicki was the industry's good soldier for years, following the rules even when they didn't agree with her. She's letting it all burn out, though. She portrays the Carters in her scathing exposes and social media tirades as ruthless manipulators and industry architects who reportedly used betrayal, power, and backdoor deals to crush rivals in addition to talent to build an empire. Her enemy, as a result,
but better understanding to what's going on, so I'm hearing people talk, but I don't know because I'm on the outside looking in, and I got the feel it's like having a donut.
According to Nicki, Jay-Z is not a visionary businessman. He is a cunning and vindictive kingpin who regularly keeps her out of areas under her authority. Her voice lacks the typical anger of a superstar. It's more acute and pressing. She is accusing Jay-Z and his network of suppressing her voice, transferring tall profits to their own bank accounts, and denying her important chances. She said in her own tweet that she didn't receive any compensation even though she was the one who, aside from Beyonce, promoted the Tall initiative the most. Jay allegedly offered her crumbs covered in silence and kept the pie for himself when the platform sold for more than $300 million.
Funded, they pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves.
She's now implying something much more sinister, as if that weren't enough. That she has been in real danger as a result of speaking out against these power tactics she seems to be fighting. For more than just recognition, judging by her enigmatic warnings, disturbing tone shifts, and startling episodes of anxiety, she is defending herself. She made the awful statement, "Everything in the world is still evil and spiteful." It's particularly disturbing when accompanied with analogies to domestic, societal, and political manipulation. Does Nicki mean a network of handlers and enforcers that spans the entire industry? Is there anything she sees that we do not?
Like this can be reported. Also, I don't understand. I don't know what's going on, but things like this can be reported as smoke and mirrors as well now.
The issue then begins to take a conspiratorial turn, the kind of whispers that the music industry's elite, who keep a careful eye on burner accounts, claim not to believe. According to a number of reports, Jay-Z is at the core of an Illuminati-style blacklist that is circulating across the company, including the removal of social media profiles by a former Roc Nation employee. The claim that Nicki Minaj was deliberately excluded from significant cultural events as retaliation for her transgressions is supported by evidence of a pattern of intentional exclusion that is not coincidental, including her repeated exclusions from the Met Gala, her failure to receive a Grammy nomination despite her chart success, and now the 2025 Super Bowl halftime show. Even while Jay-Z, who has long been accused of being the list's gatekeeper, has never formally addressed these claims, the evidence seems to be mounting. Think about this. Two of the most well-known hip-hop artists of their time, Nicki and Lil Wayne, were ignored and not even given guest appearances in the same year that Kendrick Lamar was chosen as the Super Bowl's main performer. Why? The whispers point the finger at internal politics instead than creative excellence. Jay's conceit, his conflict with Birdman, his Cold War with Drake, and yes, his long-lasting resentment of Nicki because her group was turned down by Roc Nation in the first management talks. According to a former A&R, Jay never let the old her go away.
Nicki was tweeting a lot. One was denying a young black man what he rightfully put into this game for no other reason but your
Nicki's public indignation was sparked by the exclusion of Lil Wayne in particular. Wayne's hometown of New Orleans will host the Super Bowl, but he was passed over for West Coast artist Kendrick. I don't mean to belittle Caught. The emotional math doesn't line up, and it's unethical to give the young black man what he deserves for no other reason than your ego, even if Nicki herself admitted that she appreciated his artistic talent. This was a message, a lesson to those in power, and a slap from the top, according to Nicki, who said it was more than simply a slight. She said, "Your hatred for Birdman, Drake, and Nicki got you punishing Lil Wayne."
Now, if you know anything about Birdman, you know, anytime he puts something on Miss Gladys, oh, he...
Furthermore, Wayne said nothing at all. In a rare moment of weakness, the generally cool man acknowledged that being passed over broke him, not disappointed him. But broken, that word has a serious connotation. As if something had broken inside, as though he had suddenly understood what Nicki had been yelling all along, because zeal is less significant in this profession than politics. If your name is on the incorrect list, that legacy is meaningless. However, retaliation turns profitable at this stage. Insiders claim that Jay-Z considers more than simply music when selecting his Super Bowl selections. Long-term brand alignment is the aim. Lamar's appearance on the biggest platform in entertainment was expected to benefit his Roc Nation partners, particularly those who had previously contributed to Kendrick's touring and catalog holdings. What about Wayne? His masters belong to him. There is no mechanism that restrains him. His own finances would only get better as a result of his engagement. Consequently, neither the coin nor the culture were taken into account.
That's business, though. That's just business. Oh, the other thing I would say to that tweet from Nicki Minaj is
Jay-Z allegedly promised Wayne a late-stage guest role, which would have necessitated a vile side door entrance disguised as a peace sacrifice, according to others. According to reports, Birdman laughed it off. When Cameron said egregious, Nicki exploded. It was the last insult to her after erasing "provide pieces." She says the same strategy was used against her following her fight with Megan Thee Stallion of Roc Nation. The cold shoulder followed by the silent phone calls that suggested a feature came first. Now that there's a cycle, she claims she can see it clearly. What role does Beyonce play in all of this, then? At that point, things get more hazy and unsettling. Nicki's pieces have begun to employ language like the queens who co-sign by omission and the women who stay silent when it suits them. B is rarely the direct target of Nicki's criticism, but it appears that B is irritated by what she perceives to be cooperation. Even when her husband seemed to tighten his grip, Beyonce said nothing, remembering that Nicki and Beyonce were previously working together on Feeling Myself. Pushing Ta and being heralded as the female rap scene's future is also crucial. She is now expendable or invisible. Shall we go back to TIDL? As Nicki continues to pull at this thread, according to rumors, each stakeholder who was an artist received about $9 million when Jay-Z sold the platform for over $300 million. However, Nicki claims that she never received a single dime, penny, or phone call. Furthermore, she was labeled as difficult by a rumor campaign when she questioned it, either in silence or worse. The Mobile Guidebook claims that it is the oldest trick. Before the voice becomes louder, discredit it. Paint her as unpredictable, sensitive, unstable, or anything else to get out of the question. Where is her check?
Apparently, Nicki Minaj has dragged Jay-Z to film. She blasts him for being evil and spiteful.
Even more so than some of the male artists who reportedly took money. Nicki was one of the program's most outspoken boosters, according to industry insiders close to the original tier rollout. She had to watch the bag disappear after doing exclusives, social media posts, and interviews. What is personal if that isn't? The last illustration of this is the woman who has no more bridges to keep up and no more favors to repay. She's not just emphasizing business tactics. Jay-Z and the ruling class in general are being accused by her of being puppeteers and entangling the culture in agreements that benefit a select few while erasing the masses. She no longer struggles for financial gain or stage presence. Visibility, credibility, and possibly survival are at risk because things happen when industry whistleblowers begin to speak out. Contractions terminate, put an end to the project. Unbelievably, security issues get worse, asked Kaepernick. Talk to Keisha, everyone who dares to pull at. The mask should be questioned.
You know, Lil Wayne and sort of the things he's gotten into, the random things, run-ins with the law, whatever he's had over the last few years, that would not be typical of the brand of the half.
Nicki Minaj is now using both hands to pull. We might be seeing something far more explosive than a rap war if even half of what she's claiming is accurate. If this network of influence truly extends from Super Bowl stages to stock buyouts and covert blacklists, maybe a 20-year-old. While it's beginning to give way, we also need to discuss Nicki Minaj's true situation while this topic heats up. Because behind the headlines, there's another tale of her outbursts, fights, and rage. A story that is told in bits and pieces rather than through live feeds or interviews. Posts that disappear between lines are comments full of emojis. Warnings that seem more like laments than threats. Her fan following went into frenzy over one tweet in particular. You will be punished by God. Listen carefully to what I say. Is it fear or anger? Is she implying that the walls are closing in or bringing up retaliation?
Under no circumstances am I going to be quiet when you talking about him like that, Nicki Minaj. What the hell was that? What's that?
There was this one after that. You'll be held responsible if I say anything more. Stephen A. Smith was the target of that when he stood up for Jay-Z. However, a closer listen reveals a completely different sound, as if they were warning of a storm. Clapbacks are what people say when their lawyers are looking on. Such you don't know the half of it and they'll regret this. She hasn't been saying any of those things. Or worse, when someone reminds them of the stakes from behind the scenes, this pattern is not new to us. Britney's coded speech, let's raise a glass, changed from mysterious to disorganized. Nicki is currently traveling the same path. The one where, as soon as you begin to know names, the industry begins to portray you as unstable. Even more frightening is how quickly the plot changes. You may be the rap queen 1 minute, and then abrasive, resentful, and emotional the next. Janet was the one who was affected by it. Lauren was the victim. They gave Cardi a try. Nicki is breaking the rules because she knows the playbook. However, what would happen if you quit playing the game in a company that relies on quiet? According to an alleged former assistant from a reputable music public relations company that has worked with Roc Nation, some staff members have been instructed not to talk to Nicki unless their supervisors have approved it. In other words, she is gradually being left out, not dropped or prohibited, just muffled. Neither planned nor invited. Her name was now spoken cautiously rather than with reverence. Cook, Lizzie. Furthermore, insiders and fans are now afraid that this is the subliminal precursor to a takedown, that we are witnessing a purification rather than a conflict. And it leads us to the stillness that is becoming more and more intense every day. Beyonce. That same woman who would stand arm in arm on stage with Nicki and trade verses on Feeling Myself. The same woman who used Nicki to slightly favor her visual era. And now, not a single post, blank, or word. Furthermore, we cannot act as though quiet is meaningless. Not in an optics-dominated sector where Beyonce has meticulously cultivated her public persona as a manipulator and defender. She is not being impartial by remaining silent. Its alignment, do you want me to stop? The same source put forth a theory that is rapidly gaining traction online. Beyonce's absence is not a sign of indifference, but rather strategic protection for Roc Nation and the Empire. The former music executive who oversaw brand negotiations for Ivy Park claimed that Beyonce's team has been very proactive about keeping her image clear of messy public disputes, even if it means stepping back from old alliances. In other words, while Jay is the campaign's face, Beyonce might be managing damage management in the background. Some people are asking unimaginable questions. Was it a strategy to keep Nicki in check, visible but never dangerous, or were the alliances ever sincere? No one is unaware that the call ceased when Nicki began to establish her brand outside of the carefully manicured filters of Ta and Roc Nation circles and to go out on her own terms. Beyonce, the unofficial diplomat of the industry, ceased doing the same when the cosigns dried up. It took time for such a change to occur. The cuts were slow and harsh.
I know so much on how you get where you are.
We have repeatedly observed this pattern when someone breaks formation, loses loyalty, and begins to ask questions. Nicki is posing the most important question of all. Who is the real owner of this company? Because she is currently up against two of its most powerful people, a couple whose actions frequently resemble chess in the fog and who have used their seclusion to gain power. Suddenly, though, the fog is dissipating. Why is it taking place? Perhaps a trapdoor, perhaps a fortification. Rapper Jay-Z has always been more than that. He's a company, a brand, and the guardian of billion-dollar stages and televised events. Beyonce, the immaculate queen who not only writes history, but also tells it, is the epitome of perfection. Right now, they are untouchable, because the structure they have established is being shaken by Nicki's actions, whether intentional or the result of the pressure of being cornered. The agreements, exclusions, and implicit choices that determine who receives attention and who is ignored should never contain these tugging focuses.
Agree, all lies will be exposed, that's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
The industry is not only complicit, but also well coordinated to protect a dynasty that rewards loyalty with opportunities and punishes opposition with invisibility. This is especially true if she's correct and there's a real attempt to silence her, discredit Wayne, and prevent the Young Money lineage from getting too much attention. That is a system, not a conflict. Her remarks are therefore beginning to appear more than a straightforward response, as though someone was attempting to leave a trail in case they disappeared from the story. They read like coded distress signals while they are still able to smell their flowers. Give them to them. Toying with people's ancestry while they're sitting around. God isn't sleeping. Not all of these are metaphors. These are warnings from someone who has lost too much, knows too much, and might be losing even more.
When people are against the Illuminati, then they get punched in the face all the time. The press hates them, and nobody likes them.
Therefore, it is no longer just a question of whether Nicki Minaj is lashing out. The question is if she can defeat an invincible machine by herself. Despite her honesty, bluster, and lack of remorse, she is someone who understands the extent to which this industry will go to safeguard its select few. She has the guts to talk about it since she has personally witnessed it. One question remains as Nicki Minaj keeps fighting back and exposing what she claims to be the truth. Nicki Minaj's unraveling story now echoes far beyond the studio, or stages whispering through boardrooms, rewriting alliance maps, and possibly shaking loose a decades-old system guarded by silence and power pairings. What began as lyrical defiance has mutated into a form of cultural whistleblowing, exposing fractures in the polished empire Beyonce and Jay-Z have built. What's fascinating is that industry insiders have started to suggest this isn't just personal, it's potentially strategic. Several behind-the-scenes reports have emerged, hinting that Nicki wasn't just pushed aside. She was actively managed out. One high-level music licensing consultant revealed that by 2021, Nicki's name was deliberately omitted from high-profile licensing opportunities, even when brand metrics showed her outperforming contemporaries. This wasn't a matter of irrelevance, it was about containment. Insiders have begun calling it the Velvet Box, a soft but calculated tactic used to phase out artists without triggering public backlash. Nicki's resistance, then, isn't just rage, its refusal to fit in a disappearing act quietly handed to her. There's more. Around the time Jay-Z began expanding ROC Nation's sports division, a curious overlap emerged between artist endorsement deals and athlete branding, something Nicki reportedly resisted. According to a former ROC marketing coordinator, Nicki declined a proposed campaign that would have tied her name to a male athlete being groomed as the next face of a ROC Nation fitness brand. She didn't want to be a mascot, the source sighed, and that cost her. The blowback wasn't immediate, but soon after, several key endorsement negotiations stalled or evaporated. Nicki wasn't just penalized for past alliances, she was being flagged as uncooperative in a machine that runs on acquiescence. And while Beyonce's silence has been interpreted by some as graceful distance, others read it more critically as selective disengagement with built-in plausible deniability. A stylist with ties to both camps hinted at a telling shift. There was a time Beyonce would publicly wear something Nicki had co-signed. These days, even a like is reviewed by legal, which raises the deeper question: how carefully curated is this silence, and is it protection, calculation, or both? Whispers have also grown louder around Tidal's real payout structure. A former internal auditor, speaking anonymously, claimed that at least one stakeholder had their distribution redirected due to contractual ambiguity, which, they allege, could apply to Nicki's claim she was listed as a core promoter, but not a primary owner. They said, if true, it means Nicki may have been the face of an empire she wasn't even officially part of. And when she asked questions, a PR narrative quietly spun, erratic, overreacting, hard to work with. That's the trapdoor, the one Nicki seems to be clawing open now. And if what she's hinting at is real, if the erasure was engineered, if the silence was rehearsed, and if the gatekeeping wasn't just personal but systematic, then this may be the beginning of a cultural audit no one saw coming. Especially not from someone they assumed would play by the rules she helped write. How far would Beyonce and Jay-Z go to keep their business going? And before the whole truth is out, will Nicki Minaj's voice be silenced? If you believe she is telling the truth or that she is hurting herself more than she is helping, kindly leave a comment below. And like you, we'll be watching. Remember, until the next time, remain alert and maintain your curiosity.